Hey, SEGways! Before I show you the interview I had with Kristin, I just want to take this opportunity to say one last thing about the Sam, Colby, and Seth fiasco, because, God willing, I won't need to bring it up again. I know a lot of people think I'm doing this all for views and attention, but to be perfectly honest, I really would like to move on after this video. Unless, of course, something major kicks off. I've had a lot of people come back at me with lots of counter arguments for what they've seen in the videos, and maybe after you hear what Kristin says in her own words, you might think differently about a few things. But what I find striking with all the comments I've read back about this video is that nobody seems to realize that what we see from Sam and Colby and Seth in the video, where they are all screaming and scared out of their wits' end about everything happening to the Bellaire House, directly contrasts what we see when the cameras are not on. If you ignore all the controversy in the video and just see what happens and you think outside the box for a moment, you will see these guys sitting around, texting, joking, having no sense of urgency or fear about them whatsoever. Now, you can say to me, oh, they can't be like that the whole time, but I don't agree, actually. If you go and watch Sam and Colby's original video when they were at the Bellaire House, and you listen to the claims they make, and you watch the footage on how scared they are, and you compare that to the footage in the video I showed, it shows to me that this is all an act. And of all the things that happened in that video, I think this is the point that gets overlooked. It's all an act. It's theatre. Now, I don't want anyone to stop watching Sam and Colby by any means. I've already said before, and I'll say it again, I am not out to cancel anybody. But if you could take anything away from this whole saga, maybe the next time you click on a Sam and Colby video, enjoy it by all means. But just be aware, it's theatre. At least that's my opinion. So with all that being said, on to the interview. Hi everyone, we're joined with Kristin Lee, who is the owner of the Bellaire House. Kristin, thank you very much for taking the time to go on the record with me.
Thank you. I appreciate having the opportunity to do this with you and talk to you so I can answer any questions that you have and clear things up from my end.
Yeah, there's a lot that I think needs to be cleared up here. So I really appreciate you taking the time to give us all some answers. First off, I think this is quite an important thing to state. You are aware of how some of the Sam and Colby fans can be. And you may get some backlash for this. I hope you don't. I hope they can be mature enough not to do this. But I just want to make sure that you are aware of this.
I'm aware.
So I guess the first question I've got to ask is, when did you first hear that I was trying to get in touch with you?
I believe it was Sunday or Monday of last week when Zach Bell, Sam and Colby's producer, and my contact from booking the Bellaire House called me on the telephone and woke me up and asked me a whole bunch of questions. And it was not a good conversation. It really wasn't. He took me by surprise. When I'm taken by surprise and I'm in shock at such situations, I use a lot of profanity and I cursed him pretty good. And I feel awful about that. But when he first told me that you were doing this, I knew the hate that was going to come through. And I thought that it was going to be all on me. And I really thought that. He accused me of a lot of things that he shouldn't have. And I think that's what really made me angry with him. That's what really made me livid. And then having to defend myself to him. That made no sense. I mean, my blood was boiling by the time that we hung up the phone. And then he had just told me it was probably just a rumor that you were doing this, and it was probably just gossip, and that he would write a PR note for me, defend me if needed to be. I haven't heard a word from them since. I knew this was coming. I knew it, and I found out by their producer.
Right. So, yeah, just to clarify, I mentioned this in the video that Sam and Colby's team got whiff of what the video I was making, and I have no idea. Well, I might have a slight idea how that
I have a
happened,
big idea.
you have a big
I have
idea.
a very big idea. Yeah. And I just want everybody to know that um it's very hard to work with people at the Bellaire House looking at people wondering who leaked the video, right?
Yes.
But after I looked at everything, and I sat down with a few people, when you made that video roasting Sam and Colby and myself and Mike and all of that jazz,
Sorry about that.
that's okay. I'm not concerned about that, but thank you for your apology. I'm more concerned about this.
Could you please explain to us from your perspective what happened during that day and evening and night that Sam, Colby, and Seth were at your house? Just generally how it went down. What were the vibes you were getting through the night? And then we can talk about what was actually said on the video after that.
Mm-hmm. As any team member or group member comes to the Bellaire House, I don't know them and I don't pay attention to YouTube. I think that there's something that we all need to understand here. The YouTubers that are pushing out paranormal content are not associated with people in my groups, which are researchers that are researching the paranormal. So I didn't know who Sam and Colby was. Mike McAllister called me and said, my girls are big fans of Sam and Colby. Could they meet them? And I had worked with Mike before in the field of research. And, I told him, yeah, I said, bring them down. I said, you were the first team ever here at the Bellaire House to investigate it. I said, why don't you go back on the record? Why don't you come back to the field and be a researcher? When we got there, it was completely chaotic. There's teenage girls in there. I had no idea who Sam and Colby was until Mike told me that they were YouTube people and girls like them. That's what I was told. I didn't realize that they had over 6 million followers, 7 million followers at that time. I didn't know that. And that kind of stuff it just doesn't still today. It doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is, first of all, my reputation. Secondly, dignity, integrity, and morals in the paranormal field. And it's something that I'm not seeing a lot. So my point is the two fields of YouTube paranormal content creators and researchers, there's no middle ground. We don't work with each other. I'm sorry, we don't. There are some YouTubers that I do work with. Like I've worked with TFIL overnight. I've worked with CJ. I know you've roasted all those guys too, but it's like the stuff that you put out is funny. It is. I've started watching.
It's always meant with love. It's always meant with love.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm probably now one of your I haven't subscribed to you yet because I'm still on the fence, but I
Fair enough.
But I like your content. I like your snarky attitude. I relate to you. I get it. So that's one of the reasons why I can't be mad at you. And I'm glad that you put this out, to be honest with you. I really am, because I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Years ago, I don't want to say years ago because the Sam and Colby fans are so technical. Okay, so I don't know the exact date, but almost 2 years ago, and I know it's almost December, and that makes it 2024, Sam and Colby fans. You've sent me that a billion times today. All right. I digress. I guess it was just the right timing. I really do. I guess it was the right timing for this story to be told because of two things. I did take this to TMZ. I did years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And they didn't say anything to me. They didn't even bat an eye at me. They said nothing to me. And this was a while ago when this first happened. I had a very famous friend, a celebrity friend that I showed and disclosed, and I trust to my deathbed. I will trust them. They had said to me, you need to give this to TMZ and I'm going to help you do that. And nothing became of it. Nothing, not an email, not a phone call, no, nothing. And then when I find out that this is coming out, I'm like, well, that took a while. I'm glad, but it took a long time. And I didn't know how this was going to go. I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I know people watch you because they do that with my other friends that are just starting out in YouTube. They've got maybe less than 500 subscribers, but there's thousands of people watching them. And I'm what I'm saying is I feel like that's the same way with you. You now, last time I looked, you were like 111,000 views on that video. So as somebody that does what you do, it is going to sound really strange coming from me, and I'm going to get a lot of hate from people, but congratulations on your numbers. You've really boosted yourself up there. And I'm sure it wasn't your intent, because I've watched your other videos. You're legitimately calling fake people out. You're calling out the truth. You're making people very well known of what is real and what is phony baloney in the paranormal. And my whole entire group, we've been calling you Robin Hood. So thank you.
I don't know how to say it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Wow.
So
I did not expect that. But
it's
no,
true.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, my son even said that about you. He said, Ma, he's a Robin Hood. He's a modern day Robin Hood. What are you bitching about? He said.
Wow. I will absolutely take that. I might rename my channel to that. Thank you very much. So I guess the next big question I have for you, Kristin, is we'll start off with Seth. Because Seth has said in his most recent in a Twitter post that it was all water under the bridge. Is it water under the bridge?
No, that is not. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm a professional person. When the cops came and scared the crap out of them, which I just ate up, and I'm going to be brutally honest about that. I thought that was the best thing that could ever happen to teach 3 little boys a lesson. Okay. Secondly, as a professional person, you always say water under the bridge, good game. Like when you're playing baseball or basketball, all the kids line up, good game, good game, good game. You know what I'm saying? That is the most professional thing to do that we are taught to do in really, really bad situations. Just moving forward, water under the bridge. So was it really water under the bridge? Let's talk about this first. The police side-eye guy, they did not make the Sam or Colby pay for the bear. They didn't. Their producer offered to pay for it. Sam and Colby didn't pay me. Their producer offered the money. And that's first and foremost. But what really made it not water under the bridge, because there is something that happened after this. And I want to touch on this real quick too. The guy named Boredom stated that he said that I invited them back. Well, I would gladly at that time, before I knew what I'm about to tell you, would have invited Sam and Colby, but never the Boredom boy. Never, ever. He is never allowed in my house. As a matter of the fact, he's not allowed in any location in Bellaire that I know of. Because we're very, very tight people in Bellaire. Like, we do not, you screw one of us over, you screw the whole village over. So, I mean, you just stay on Route 7 if you're going to the pen, bro, because you're eventually going to end up at the pen, right? Yeah. So, I don't remember where I saw it, but it was a post from Seth. But I will tell you one thing, I will never forget the way that it made me feel ever in my life. It had stated that he was announcing himself as one of the producers of the Sam and Colby team after they left the Bellaire House. This was maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 at the most after they left the Bellaire House. So that told me that Sam and Colby and the Kurt Bell producer condoned Seth's behavior enough to make him a producer of their team.
Enough for them to willing to work with him for at a different capacity.
Right. Yes, definitely enough to work with him at a different capacity. It just doesn't make any sense why anybody would promote somebody to a title of a producer, even if it's 1 episode, 2 episodes, I don't care how many episodes. If somebody from my group or my team went into a location and talked to anybody the way that this kid talked to me, or vandalized anything, destruction of property, this person would not be on our team. And I, for one, would not work with that person again, because it would be high risk.
So what Seth said was that he was not aware he was being recorded.
Well, that's a lie.
Yeah, well, you said in what whether he was aware of it or not, from what I understand, in the last video before the police arrived, you told all 3 of them you're aware you're being recorded. And between nods and them saying the word yes, they all seem to be aware. That might just be something someone says when they're being confronted. I don't know, but I'm sure they would have had to sign something to say that shows them they're being recorded.
Even if they did sign something, it doesn't matter, because on the front of the house, on the window, we have "you're being recorded" when you turn the knob, and "you're being recorded on Amcrest and iVideon." It's a live broadcasting system back in the day where we had it broadcasted out of the San Francisco Bay Area.
And it's your private property. If nothing else, you've got perfectly entitled to recording your own private property if you're going to open that up for other people. That's right. Like the fact that whether they're aware of they're being recorded or not, it's neither here nor there. Just act respectful in other people's homes.
I agree. And I'm glad that you called them out on that. I really am, because, I mean, they have to know this. They really do have to. I mean, they have to know this. I mean, they're not incompetent children. Do you understand? They're just not.
How was the whole thing resolved in the end?
So when my husband found Seth saying that about me in the morning, he found that video, because the night that they started to kick the bear, we got a release, or not a release. The night that they kicked the bear, we ended up getting notifications from our moderating team. So the night that they kicked the bear, we started to receive notifications from the moderators that in the Bay Area that the team in the house was kicking equipment, and they sent me a clip of it, and I watched it probably 1 a.m., midnight to 1 a.m. I can't remember. And one of the questions that nobody has asked is, why didn't you go kick them out? Why didn't anybody ask me that question? Why didn't anybody ask that question? Well, I'm going to tell you why I didn't go do it. I wanted to watch them dig themselves in a deeper ditch, because that's what needed to happen. And they did. There's so much more that happened that you would just have to see it to believe it. Because if I told you, you wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't.
Funny you should say that. I mean, I don't feel that we should get too of course, you can speak your mind however you wish. But my source told me that there was more was happened and said that unfortunately over the last 2 years has been lost over time. That was actually on the CCTV footage. And some of it was pretty damning to also to Sam and Colby, but because I didn't bring any of it up in my video, because I don't have the video to back it up as evidence.
What is CCTV? I don't understand what that is.
Security. That maybe that might be a British term, but it's like security.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but they weren't security cameras. They were live broadcasting cameras. I think that's where, and they knew that they were there. I mean, the whole world knew that they were there, because we broadcasted 24/7, where people could go on to a forum and watch, like old school paranormal. You can go and watch an empty room. Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah, everybody knew. Yeah, everybody knew that. Like anybody that was anybody in the paranormal knew that's what the Bellaire House did. We were, we were still running like that. We still ran old school. But no, that's the way that we ran our business. And we ran it through a network out of San Francisco, out of the Bay Area in San Francisco. So, and we had so many, and our manager, when we left, when they were leaving, man, our house manager, she gave him, like, they apologized to her and she did not accept their apology. She said, you have degraded my friend. You have disrupted this home, and we have to stand here and we have to clean up this mess. She was livid, absolutely livid with. And then she said something like, and then you get to go to the West Virginia State Penitentiary. We're not going to tattletale on you, but now here's your chance to redeem yourselves. Do not do to them what you've just done to us. That's what she said. And I mean, she was mad, very mad at them. And they went to shake her hand. She would not shake their hands. She wouldn't.
Wow.
And
okay.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all. But, you know, the thing that really bothers me about all of this is I'm watching a lot of people really take this to heart. Like, Sam and Colby fans are so disappointed. I'm sorry that you're disappointed, Sam and Colby fans. I know what it's like to like think people are one way and then find out that they're not. I remember in my early 20s, I met a musician who I just thought was my idol. Like, this person was my idol. And then when I finally got to meet them in person, they were super sketchy. And it tore me apart for probably a good year, because that, and I'm going to be honest with all of you, is the fantasy that we build up inside of our head with celebrities and things like that. Sometimes it's not real. Sometimes it is a delusion. Sometimes it's a good feeling to get you through the day and to make you, you know, push forward, onward as we go with our, you know, with people that we look up to. But, and I'm not saying to look down on Sam. I'm not. I think Sam is innocent in this. I truly, truly do. The look of fear on his face, and then, you know, it did shift to a little bit of a smart aleck look when we were at the table. But I mean, he had the cops come in, and I would have been mad at me too. But because he really didn't do anything. He really didn't.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say actually that Sam seems to be the got caught up with this, because obviously you got Seth, who said the inappropriate stuff and then was like, picked up your knife, and whether he did or didn't, or mimicked the stabbing of the bear. And then you got Colby, who kicked the bear, and, you know, it seemed to be Seth that, you know, said the comments about none of this shit is real, etc., etc. But Sam seems to kind of just be the nice guy in all of this. He seems to, like, the only criticism I've sort of read about, I've seen about Sam, is that he didn't call out Seth, saying, "Hey man, that's not cool." That's the only. He
wasn't in the room, but I don't think he was in the room.
Yeah, I think he entered the room just as he was sort of in it, or he was. He might have been just off camera. I'm not too sure, but you know, that's by and large, Sam has kind of come off quite nicely in a lot of this.
Well, if he was in the room, I really, truly, honest to God, I think that these two, Sam and Colby, blocked out Seth. I really do. Like, they knew that he was a vile person. They knew it, and they just didn't. He's not positive. Now, let me tell you something. When Seth came to the Bellaire House with Josh, like Josh Explores, he was a perfect gentleman, absolutely perfect gentleman. But his teacher was with him too. So, I mean, you know, like, his mentor was with him. So he was on his best behavior, and he had brought his girlfriend, sweet girl, just a sweet girl, like the prettiest, sweetest girl, like just a nice little girl. And I even told him that at the table. I said, what if I called your girlfriend and told your girlfriend what you just said to me? I said, how would she like that, Seth? Really? What would she say? And I don't know what's wrong with that kid. I really don't know what's wrong with him. I mean, he did not look like he was well. And I'm going to tell you something, and you all can run with this if you want to. If I was Seth Borden, truthfully, I would say that I gained an attachment from the Bellaire House, and I was possessed. That's the only way he's getting out of this, because cameras don't lie, bro. Cameras do not lie.
That might have been a really interesting take.
That'd be the only take he's got, because whatever he wrote on Twitter, he had to do. He had to say something. He had to. And what did the police say? Like, on the TV shows, right? They always say the first one to speak is the first one to crack, is the first one is guilty.
Kristin, one of the comments that keeps getting brought up over and over and over again is, it doesn't really matter that Colby kicked your expensive bear. because he repaid you and he apologized. Have you got any comments on that?
If one of my kids went into somebody's home and did that, they'd be in a lot of trouble if I was their parent. But Sam and Colby's fans, they won't see it that way. I'm a parent. They're not parents, so they're not going to see that. Later in life, they'll see it. They'll understand later in life if they remember. But I watched him kick it. I did. And he didn't. I mean, everybody, they had it in their video. They laughed about it. He kicked it hard, and that kid works out. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a little kick. It was just a straight up drop kick. Boo Bear. It's just not cool. They did apologize. They really did. And I think that they were very sincere. I really think
here's a question, actually, Kristin.
Mm-hmm.
When Sam and Colby apologized, did they only apologize once they realized that you had the footage and you saw it, or did they just want to apologize because they knew they did something wrong?
That's a tough one, because had I never contacted their producer to let the producer know their behavior, they would have never been accountable at all.
Yeah.
So they did not realize that what all of them did was wrong. It's like I had to tattletale on them. It's like I went to their producer. I went to I went to Kurt Bell and said, this is what happened, and I'm livid, and you need to get those boys down there immediately, because we need to have a discussion before they go to their next location that I helped them get.
Which is the Ross house.
Yes.
Right.
I was so mad. I mean, I was so mad at them. I was chain smoking, double fisted. I was so mad at those kids. Oh my gosh. And I did it to make them uncomfortable. That was awful. There was just, all of it was awful.
So before we wrap this up, Kristin, is there anything else you'd like to get off your chest about this whole experience, whether it be the night that they were at the Bellaire House, or maybe since I uploaded my video and the whole aftermath of that?
Well, I haven't heard anything from the Sam and Colby team. I haven't heard a peep out of them. I'm sure that they're putting together some type of a video to talk about this. That's standard in the industry.
And at the time of recording, it's been about 5 days, I believe, since I uploaded that video. So in those 5 days, you said earlier that the Sam and Colby team were going to make a statement for you, and that you haven't heard anything from them.
No.
Right.
No, and if they're going to make a statement for me, it's too late. They're too slow. I work in real time, and I'm sorry I wasn't with you earlier. I had COVID. I just couldn't. So when all of this was going on, this was like COVID time for me. So, but the other thing is too, that I want to say this is very, very important. Women need to start standing up for themselves. Stop standing there and smiling and taking abuse from other people. Men need to do it too. And I'm not a sexist. I've raised 2 boys, and I would tell them the same thing. If somebody is being inappropriate with you verbally, you need to stand up for yourself, and you need to speak loud. Oh, gosh, this really tears me apart. This one does, because there's a lot of people on TikTok that are victims of sexual abuse, and it is triggering them to see that the people that they looked up to, the people that got them through the day, condoning this type of behavior.
I think that I couldn't agree more. 100%, nobody should be taking any of this. And as you said, regardless of your gender, shouldn't take any of this, smile about it or anything else. I think that's an absolutely fantastic point to end this interview on, actually, Kristin. And I thank you very, very much for taking the time to talk to me, to going on the record about this. And what I will say, if there are, for the Sam and Colby fans that will be watching this, can you guys please just take it easy? And maybe instead of you're first and foremost trying to defend Sam and Colby, maybe just think that there are other people involved in this as well. and it's not all about them, guys. So again, Kristin, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and explaining your side of this story.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late to the game. I tried to work as quick as I could under the circumstances, but I finally have a voice as of yesterday, so this is good. If you are somebody that's being sexually abused, if you need to talk to somebody due to past sexual abuse, please call the sexual abuse hotline, which is 800-656-HOPE, HOPE. It's very important. You're not alone. You are not alone. And it's best to talk about it. Probably not on social media, but definitely call this number and get some help.